Hello and welcome. My name is Alex, and I'm a hotel AI specialist with a deep background in modern hospitality operations. I am absolutely delighted to welcome all of you, the students of Europe Hotel School, to this part of your online learning journey. Today, we're going to tackle one of the most critical responsibilities in hotel management right now, protecting guest data. As we've moved from paper ledgers to these incredibly complex digital systems, securing guest information has become the bedrock of building trust and ensuring success. This whole program is designed to arm you with practical, real-world knowledge, and we are truly excited to support your professional growth.
So, let's get started.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start by talking about a hotel's absolute core responsibility when it comes to data. Then we'll look at the first line of defense, how we let people in. After that, we'll get into controlling internal access, then safeguarding the system's core data, and finally, we'll wrap up with the crucial role of people and just being prepared. Think of it as our blueprint for building a digital fortress.
Okay, let's kick things off with the absolute foundation of this entire topic. At its heart, hospitality is and always will be about trust. And in our digital world, that trust now goes deeper than ever, right into the data our guests share with us. Just stop and think about the sheer amount of sensitive information a hotel collects every single day. We're talking personal details, credit card numbers, home addresses, passport information, private messages, preferences, you name it. This stuff is gold for personalizing a guest's stay, but it's also a massive liability if we don't handle it with extreme care. This is the very core of our responsibility.
And how we handle that responsibility leads to two totally different futures. It's a real fork in the road. You get it right, you build guest trust, which leads to brand loyalty, a fantastic reputation, and guests who come back again and again. But if you get it wrong, a data breach can mean crushing legal fines, brand damage that's almost impossible to repair, and a fast, painful loss of customers. The stakes? Well, they really couldn't be any higher.
Okay, moving on. If we think of our hotel's property management system, the PMS, as a digital fortress, then user authentication is the main gate. It is the first, and I'd argue, the most important checkpoint for who gets to come inside.
And that gate has to be built strong. Its strength really comes from three main pillars. First up, every single employee gets their own unique user login. No sharing, ever. Shared accounts are a huge security hole because you lose all accountability. Second, you have to have strong password policies. And third, for that extra layer of security, you bring in two-factor authentication. That's where the system asks for a second piece of proof, like a code sent to your phone.
Now, these policies you see here, they might seem simple, but together they create a really tough defense. You enforce things like password length and complexity. You make people change their passwords regularly. And, this one is so critical, the moment an employee leaves, their account is disabled. Immediately. These aren't just good ideas, they're absolute must-dos.
So, someone's made it through the main gate. They're authenticated. Now what? Well, you can't just let them roam free inside the fortress. This next part is all about controlling where they can go and what they can do once they're in the system.
And we manage this with a really smart concept called the principle of least privilege. It's a fancy name for a simple idea. People should only have access to the bare minimum they need to do their jobs, nothing more. So, as you can see, a front desk agent needs to handle check-ins and reservations, but they have absolutely no business looking at system-wide reports or changing rate structures. Housekeeping needs to update a room's status, but they should never, ever be able to see a guest's financial data. It's all about limiting risk.
So, how do you keep an eye on everything happening inside? That's where audit trails come in. The best way to think of these is as the digital security cameras of your system. They create a log of every single important action, every rate change, every voided charge, every comped room, and they tie it directly to a specific user. It gives you complete transparency and makes accountability crystal clear.
All right, let's push deeper. We've locked down the gates and we're controlling movement inside. Now we have to talk about protecting the treasure in the vault, the guest data itself.
Our number one tool for this is encryption. In simple terms, it's the process of taking sensitive data and scrambling it into a secret code that's totally unreadable without a specific key. This is so fundamental because if a hacker does manage to get their hands on your data, all they'll have is a bunch of useless scrambled gibberish.
Now, for payment information, we use an even smarter trick called tokenization. Here's how it works. Instead of storing a guest's actual credit card number in your hotel system, which is a huge risk, the system swaps it out for a random, non-sensitive stand-in called a token. The real card number is kept safe and sound with the payment processor.
This is a game changer because it means even if your PMS gets breached, there's no actual payment data there to steal.
And of course, I have to be really clear about this. All of this is governed by very strict rules. Things like PCI DSS for credit cards or data privacy laws like GDPR over in Europe. Compliance isn't just a good idea. It's not optional. It is a legal and operational requirement, period.
For our final section, we need to shift gears a little bit, because no matter how tall the walls or how strong the gates, a fortress is only as secure as the people who are defending it. Tech alone is never enough.
So let's ask this question. Is the most advanced security tech in the world enough to protect a hotel? The answer is an absolute, undeniable no. Year after year, human error is one of the top causes of data breaches. One employee clicking on a bad link in a phishing email or leaving a password on a sticky note can undo millions of dollars of security investment. The human element is so often the weakest link in the chain.
And that is exactly why ongoing staff training isn't just a nice-to-have, it's non-negotiable. You have to build a human firewall. Your team needs to be constantly educated on how to spot phishing scams, why password confidentiality is a big deal, and how to follow simple rules like a clean desk policy, so guest IDs and credit card slips aren't just lying around. Everyone needs to know what to do when they see something suspicious.
And being prepared also means planning for when things go wrong, because someday they will. That means having secure, automatic cloud backups. It means having a documented disaster recovery plan that you actually practice. It means knowing how you do a manual check-in if the system went down. And it means doing proactive things like regularly checking to see who has access to what and making sure it's still appropriate.
So here's the key takeaway. When you bring all of this together, the technology, the training, the preparedness, you build something incredibly powerful. You build a strong security culture. And that culture is what transforms every single employee from being a potential risk into being an active, alert defender of your guests' data and your hotel's good name.
And that brings me to the final thought I want to leave you with. As you all prepare to become the next leaders in hospitality, this responsibility is going to land squarely on your shoulders. It's not an IT problem, it's a leadership challenge. So start thinking now. How will you champion a culture where protecting guest data is a core value, something that every single person on your team understands and lives by every day? Thank you.